One of the most talked about developments of the last few years is the growth of the so-called super information highway, a phrase used to describe the infrastructure that is now in place to allow the instant worldwide dissemination of information in all its various shapes and forms. As this information technology seeps into every aspect of Irish life, it undoubtedly will mean huge changes in employment patterns in the coming years. To give us an insight into these changes, we're joined by Tony Murphy, Director of the National Institute for Management Technology, and John MacDonald of Irish Computer Magazine. Tony, I'll start with you. What are the very basic changes that have occurred in the technology to start this so-called revolution?
The basic changes, I think, really are the improvements in chip technology and the implementation of satellites in terms of communications, and the growth in performance and the drop in price. So you have performance in computers has gone way up, price has gone way down, which has meant that what was inconceivable 20 years ago is now perfectly acceptable. In other words, that you could take, for example, your average cooker at home has more computer power now than a mainframe 20 years ago costing £1 million.
John, let's talk about the actual infrastructure, the facilities that are there now because of all these changes. What are the main ones?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that has happened is that people's computers can now communicate with each other at very low cost, no matter where in the world they are. And people have to understand what that actually means. Basically, it means that I can sit at my computer, type a letter, and put an address on it. That address can be anywhere in the world, and I don't need to know the location of the address. And using the advanced telecommunications that have just been referred to, that message is transmitted to the person I want to get it.
Is this the internet?
This is the internet. This is the World Wide Web.
So how do you know people's addresses and stuff like that? I mean, do people give it out?
Well, nobody asks you for your telephone number anymore. People ask you for your email address. There are many services offering email address facilities, and if you don't know somebody's email address and you're able to log on to the World Wide Web, you can look it up, but you don't need a telephone directory.
All right, that's just one of the facilities. What about video conferencing? What's that, Tony?
Video conferencing is a facility whereby you can communicate in the normal way over telephone lines, but you can also see the people you're talking to. You can show each other documents or diagrams, things like that. So if you're, we say, designing a car or something, you can actually show the diagram of the car. It'll be available to people at the opposite ends of the world. You can put in a suggested change, and instantaneously the people at the other end, maybe in Japan, can say, no, we don't like that, what I'd like is this. So you can actually work through a dialogue where you see one another and you see the diagrams, and you can swap documents as well. You know, if you send, we'll say, I suggest here's what we should write in the document. Instantly you see it, you say, no, I think we should do that.
So it's all done in real time?
It's all done in real time, yeah.
How are these changes going to affect businesses in the coming years? What businesses are going to survive? How will they have to adapt?
Well, the answer is that they are already affecting business in the most dramatic and profound way. You take, if I give an example, 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, Microsoft was two skinny kids in T-shirts. IBM was the biggest and most successful company in the world. Within less than 10 years, IBM almost went to the wall. Now they're getting back out of it again. And Microsoft are now in capitalization only just short of them. So
well, what about businesses that aren't involved in computers? I mean, ordinary, everyday businesses. How are they going to deal with the information technology?
They will have to deal with it because it's now part of the whole business process, as John said earlier. And as you said yourself, it is enmeshed in all business activities. And how they'll have to adapt to it is they'll have to become very customer focused because it's become so much more competitive now. They'll have to become very flexible. The old days of this is my job, that's his job, they're gone. They'll have to sort of shorten their product lead times as the market changes quickly. They'll have to educate their staff, keep on training their staff.
So Irish businesses have a lot of work to do with this.
They have an awful lot of work to do, yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about individuals for a second, John. What does all this mean to someone who is working in a 9-to-5 job? Is that going to change?
Yes, it's most definitely going to change. And video conferencing is probably one of the better examples. That's the sexy end of telecommunications. Everybody recognise that they see their face on a television screen and realise they're talking to somebody halfway across the world who's sitting in front of a similar machine. There have been conferences held in Europe, the United States and the Pacific Rim by the airline industries to discuss what they're going to do about video conferencing, because people do not have to travel. They're living in the global village.
Will people be working from home a lot more?
There will be a lot more teleworking from home. There will be a lot more working from home at the end of an ISDN circuit where you have full access to your computer system in the office, just as if you were sitting at your desk, and you have full access to all the people that you want to communicate with, just as if you were in the next room to them. That is definitely on the way, and there are practitioners already. As Tony pointed out, the cost of the equipment is coming down, and this technology is no longer just the remit of the large multinationals, the governments and the large institutions. Small and medium-sized businesses can now afford this technology, and they can take advantage of the competitive edge that's offered by this technology.
All right, Tony, what about that? What kind of small businesses are going to be able to take advantage of it? What services will they be providing?
I think every business can take advantage of it to a greater or lesser extent. And you mentioned services. I think it's important to realise that the economy is rapidly moving towards a service economy. Approximately 75% of the economy now is in service-related jobs. It used to be manufacturing before. In fact, the ratios are changing. And that has huge ramifications for the way we actually run our business.
All right, one last question. What type of person, what type of individual is going to survive in this? Do they have to know a computer inside out?
No is the answer to that. There will always be tasks and jobs for people who will be very in-depth and highly technical in the computer sense, but where the real job opportunities are, where the numbers of job opportunities are people who are flexible, who know computers, most of all, who see how businesses can be improved through the use of computers.
You're talking about a fully rounded person.
I am indeed, absolutely, yes.
Right, okay,
yeah.
Thanks a million, Tony.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there. Thank you, John, as well. And if you'd like more information on all these changes that we've just discussed, then you may be interested in the Communications 95 exhibition in Dublin's RDS between the 4th and 6th of April, and the accompanying No Frontiers conference on the 4th. Details can be had from Computer Exhibitions Limited, Computer House, 66 Patrick Street in Dunleary, County Dublin, or you can telephone 1-850 400 400 from anywhere in the country for the price of a local call.